Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the ColdFusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome back to another Modernize or Die CFML News Edition. This is Gavin Pickin. I'm a software consultant for Ortus Solutions, and today is October 15th, 2019. How's it going, Andrew?
Good, Gavin. How you doing?
Pretty good. So Andrew is a senior developer for InLeague LLC. We're happy to have him back. It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I had to take a little hiatus here, and glad to be back.
Cool. So let's get into the news now. So if you didn't catch up last week, Online ColdFusion Meetup, which is a CF user group that's been online for a long time. Charlie Earhart's just spun it back into high gear again. So there's hundreds and hundreds of these online. They did one last week, and another one's coming up here not this week, next week, Thursday, October 24th, with our buddy Pete Freitag.
Yeah, Pete's going to be talking about approaches to more secure ColdFusion code. And anybody who knows Pete knows he is kind of synonymous with ColdFusion and security, and definitely can point out any vulnerabilities that you have in your code and give you some pointers on better approaches to securing your code. So I definitely encourage everyone to check that out. I've sat in some of his other sessions and all, and just by sitting in those, if you've never been to any of his meetings, definitely check this meetup out.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary how something as simple as a JPEG uploader can crash your server. So he'll show you all sorts of crazy stuff that you wouldn't believe, why you shouldn't trust MIME types and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff, and I think this might be based on his CF Summit one. If not, it's very similar to some of his presentations. So it'll be a good one. And if you did miss last week's or any of the other ones, or cannot make it to this one, they are available online. So if you go to the meetup.com/ColdFusion Meetup, you'll see them there. And Charlie has all the links to it from his site, which is kierhart.org. And if you're interested in speaking, he's looking for speakers. The reason that we haven't had as many lately is that speakers got busy and just weren't willing to step up and sort of present. For the long time, we had one every week for years. I mean, years. They have 200 plus meetups on there. So if you're looking to be a speaker, Charlie has a blog, which basically the come speak at the CF meetup. It's an FAQ for speakers. So if you're not sure if you can or should speak, you can look at that on kierhart.org. There's a blog post outlining it. So,
and those that link will be in the show notes as well for everyone that's listening.
Yep. So if you go to meetup.com/ColdFusion Meetup, you can see all the history and all the upcoming ones too. And yeah, if you did speak at one of the conferences at Into the Box or CF Summit, put your hand up, get in line, and present, because that way they get to live forever. Because not all the conferences share their videos and stuff, and it's nice to get out there and share it with a bigger audience. So
yeah, definitely, and it's helping the community out, keeping the community alive and growing. So definitely encourage, if that's kind of your forte, hey man, jump in there on it. Seriously, that'll be my forte, but hey.
Yeah, and it's good practice too. If you're if you want to present at a user group or a conference, and you're a little bit scared or you want some extra practice, this is good too. And get some feedback and everything. And the coolest thing about it is that you're not staring at 50 or 100 people in the crowd. You're just presenting to your computer screen, just like we're talking right now. And so it's actually easier. You don't have to worry about it. You can't get that feedback from the audience, but at least you don't get so scared too. So if you're wanting to work your way up into presenting at conferences, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, maybe this will. Maybe I ought to jump in. Maybe I won't choke next time. So, what else do we have as far as news, Gavin?
Well,
looks like MongDB has a Lucee extension released. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so we've been talking about this MongDB Lucee extension for a couple of weeks because we know we've been working on it. It's been real close, and it's finally being released. It's been cut as 1.0. So now if you guys would like to use MongDB, the Lucee extension that Ortus provides is available. And so you can basically just install that in your Lucee admin, and now you'll have access to use MongoDB for your extensions and your caching. So it's pretty cool if you want to distribute your sessions, etc., over a cluster. This is a great setup. And of course, we have the Redis one too that we released not too long ago, and then we have the Couchbase one as well. So this is a commercial, professionally supported one. So there is a cost to it, but as we mentioned before, all the support that's there, the updates are available, and if you spend a few hours trying to do it yourself, it more than pays for itself. So now you have the option. If you're looking at Lucee, you got the Mongo, the Redis, or the Couchbase. So and if there's another caching server out there that you want to use, let us know. Maybe we'll check out other customers, and if there's enough support, we can try and work on that one too. But
yeah, and so with this extension here, you can use it for other things instead of just distributed cache and all, correct? Just any kind of NoSQL.
Yeah. I mean, it just gives you access to it. So,
Nice.
As Lucee, if you set that up as a cache inside Lucee, you can use the cache dot, put and set, gets all the normal Lucee references, but also with CacheBox on top of it, you can get all the abstractions as well. So one of the reasons we love CacheBox is that in production mode, you can be pointing at your MongoDB server, for example. But when you're local, you can say, hey, I don't want to have a MongoDB running locally. And so instead of having to recode everything to work with Mongo, CacheBox can just point at your RAM storage when you're local. And then when you push it out to staging and production, then it chooses the right, the right server. And CacheBox abstracts all the different function calls to a set of, from an interface. So they're all the same. So you don't have to worry about wait, does Mongo use put or does it use set var, or don't worry about that. CacheBox can, abstract that away for you, and then it's easy enough to do. And CFconfig makes it easy. You just say, okay, in production, we use this CFconfig file, and dev will use this CFconfig file, and all the settings change as needed. So
nice. And to remind me, I need to ask you some questions about the Redis extension too, about expiring the tokens there. But enough of the Lucee extensions there. That's and that'll be available at ortussolutions.com because it is a commercial product. So if you guys are interested, definitely go check that out.
Yep, you can read more on the blog there if you want to find out more about what it does and how it works. Yeah.
So, man, I love Lucee. How about you?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. The movie's pretty cool. The song's pretty cool. But looks like Igal, one of the lead developers for Lucee, has been presenting at a different conference. So this is one we don't normally talk about. ApacheCon.
Yeah, ApacheCon. I've never heard of it. Obviously I've heard of Apache, and it kind of makes sense that it's going to be an Apache conference. And so what all was he talking about there? Just the...
Yeah, so I mean, he's basically just talking about, I love Lucee, talking in the Tomcat track, because Lucee by default runs on Tomcat, just like Adobe ColdFusion does. They have their own flavor of Tomcat. But he was talking about, Lucee, how it's a rapid application development platform, with application server, language, etc., framework, all built on top of the JVM with Tomcat. And so it was pretty cool to see, a talk outside of, the ColdFusion conferences talking about ColdFusion. So that's actually up on YouTube. We have a link in the show notes for that. And so, that was at ApacheCon 2019, and it's available online. So, go check it out. And, it's just kind of cool to see it out there. So we wanted to make sure everybody knew about it.
I agree. It's good. It's good seeing ColdFusion pop up in other conferences. I like it.
I know that DevNexus is another one that Brad and Luis go to a lot, So they've been talking about ColdFusion, CommandBox, etc., showing everybody why our tools are better at DevNexus the last couple of years. And I'll tell you what, DevNexus has got some pretty cool shirts for the speakers. Brad's rocking his DevNexus
his handle
shirt.
Is that the one with the Twitter handle?
It does have the Twitter handle on the shoulders, but it's cool though, because it's like a baseball shirt. It's a really cool baseball style shirt, and it's got a baseball cap that goes with it, but it's black. It looks really cool. So anyways,
sounds like some fun swag. Hey, speaking of fun swag, Gavin,
it
is now October, and you know what that means?
That means it's time to go earn one of your shirts.
Boom! Hacktoberfest. This right here, this shirt. Many of you probably, if you've seen me on here or any pictures anywhere, and those who know me personally, I wear the snot out of this shirt here. Kind of like I wear my all my ColdFusion shirts. But it's Hacktoberfest, and Hacktoberfest is it's open to everyone globally, and whether you're a developer, student, learning to code, event host, company, any size, whatever you are, you can contribute. And all you really have to do is submit 4 of the 4 pull requests on any open source project, and it qualifies you to get their t-shirt swag. And and I was joking around, hey, we like documentation here, right, Gavin?
Yep.
Why don't we call it Doctoberfest? And for anybody who doesn't feel like submitting code, or if you like me and work on a private project, you don't really have time to submit code on a lot of open source projects, but there's always room for documentation. So if you see something you want to tag in a document, man, tag it, make a pull request. 4 simple pull requests, get your free t-shirt, and some like sticker swag. I got my laptop covered in sticker swag because that's the thing to do now, right? And I've got my Hacktoberfest swag over there somewhere. So
yep. I just got an email too. They've already had 192,000 pull requests, and it's only like the first week and a half of October when they sent this email. So 192,000 pull requests already. So
probably up to 250,000 at least now.
Yeah. So, a lot of people are sending more than, just their 4. And, as long as it's not flagged as invalid, it qualifies. And so I accidentally already got my 4. So I'm already getting a shirt for this year. And a couple of them were just little bugs I fixed on something, a little documentation fix, like you said. It doesn't take much. So anyway, it's pretty cool. You can find out more at hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. They partnered up with dev.to this year, so you can probably find some good posts there. But yeah, jump into any of our Git books. If you go to ortusbooks.com, there's a Git book for everything Ortus, and there's a huge amount of stuff there. And so if you go look, any of those that have any, typos or whatever, you can make a pull request in GitHub easily. And that's what
you can do it directly in GitHub. You don't even have to do a regular pull and commit and push and all that. So
the UI is really good, and so everybody can be rocking these cool shirts. And then, Pete Freitag just sent a message saying he's got a few issues he tagged with Hacktoberfest on the CFDocs GitHub repo right now. And he has a good blog post, too, on his site. And we mentioned it last week, and I'll make sure we add it to the show notes as well. But basically, he put a little how-to and best practices for working with pull requests. So that way, the busiest time of the year for Pete, which is Hacktoberfest, doesn't get out of hand. So, make sure that you follow the conventions of the repo you're working with. But, it's great.
Let's definitely don't forget cfdocs.org. Because,
totally.
I use it. I think we all use it, and there are some areas like you had mentioned here, but areas that can use some more examples. So if you see something that doesn't have an example, just because you know how it's done, if you got a little bit of time to kill, pop it in there and help the community out. We would all definitely appreciate that, because I'm not going to tell you how many times I've racked my brain over something so simple just because it wasn't actually in the documentation. And, quick little doc, help somebody out.
Yeah, for sure. That's the big thing is, just help the community, and you get a free t-shirt out of it, and they'll ship it to wherever you're at. And it's definitely good. And it's pretty easy to get started with CFDocs too. It has some simple things. On the contribute button, there's a little how-to, but he has some good examples of how to get started, and those Hacktoberfest ones he's tagged already should make it good to get started. So, help out a community project, fix some documentation, change something here and there, and, make the world a little bit better. And that's the whole idea with Hacktoberfest, is getting people out there making the world a better place, And if there's something that you're passionate about, they have a whole bunch of projects that you can support, which aren't ColdFusion related, there's documentation, there's testing you can do. There's a whole lot of cool stuff out there. So,
and also for anyone who is not using GitHub, we're not going to do any repo shaming or anything like that, but it is a good opportunity for you to get in there, make some pull requests, get comfortable with it without having to worry about what you're doing so much, other than just editing a document. So if you've never submitted a pull request before for anything on GitHub, man, give it a shot. If you have any questions, reach out to Gavin or myself, and be glad to give you a little quick how-to. And I'm sure there's some easy
Yeah, how-to
how-tos on.
videos.
Yeah, I'm doing it. And I'm not gonna lie, my first pull request and all that I'd done was kind of hectic, and then I realized, oh, it's really pretty simple. So don't be afraid.
Yep. Exactly. So this is a good way to start. And, GitHub now that Microsoft took over and they made all the private repos freely available and stuff, a lot more people can use it. They've always tied into stuff like Travis and Circle CI for your builds, but now they have their own GitHub, what are they calling it? GitHub hooks or something. There's a new build process that they're releasing as well. So if you're using Bitbucket, the pipelines or whatever, they've got their own thing they're building out too. So that's a pretty cool product. But anyways, wear your free shirt, and hopefully coming to Into the Box next year, we can all be showing off our Hacktober goodies. So,
did you say get your free what?
Your free shirt.
So, what's going on this week? I know we're on to conferences. We beat conferences to death, and we're kind of wrapping up things. But right now, there's 2 conferences going on.
Well, there's training right now in India. So Luis just landed in India. So he's got a sold out boot camp there. So that's 16th and 17th. So the next 2 days he's going to be there. He's got I think about 15 people. So it's as many as we could support. And it's going to be a great workshop. Those of you who didn't make it, let us know that you want another one. We're willing to come back. I mean, we're really excited to see the good turnout, and I know that Adobe at CF Summit announced that they're doing the CF Summit India again. So those who are in the Indian area, they can try and make it to the Adobe CF Summit as well in India, which I think is happening later in the year. I think in December, possibly.
Has Luis talked about running a? I probably should mention, but has he talked about running a boot camp or training alongside the Adobe one, or is that still up in the air?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, if we have the demand. So if you didn't get to go to the boot camp and you want us to come back, let us know, and then maybe that's something we could do. I know that we didn't attend the Adobe CF Summit India last year, but it's something that it's a possibility. So
yeah, it could be possible.
And those of you if you are attending, good luck. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's a great workshop. It's the Zero to Hero, the one I teach this one a lot. We had a great time in Vegas. So hope you guys get a lot out of it, and let us know. Give us your feedback, and we'd love to hear how that goes. But also on the other side of the world.
Yeah, so the other side of the world, I don't know if it's going to be in 2 days or 1 day or however many days. What's the UTC time of this? But October 17th and 18th in Germany is CF Camp, and everybody's getting prepped and ready for that now. And
then the pre-conference workshops are going on too. So Brad and Eric were actually doing their workshop today. So Brad is doing the Hero to Superhero API edition. And then Eric Peterson is there, and he's doing his BDD test box training. And so they've got a nice small group there. So they're going to be learning a lot in these next 2 days. So 15th and 16th is their pre-conference workshops from Ortus. And then the conference is 17th and 18th. So there are still some tickets available. If you guys want to get your tickets for the conference, it's last minute. But if you're in the area, you could. And there are some pre-conference workshops that are just 1-day workshops too. So if you missed today, there is a pre-conference workshop tomorrow, and for that we have Preside conference, and there's a Elastic Stack for centralizing your logs, and there's also a Get Into Linux, which is just a half-day one. So if you want to get up to speed on Linux, all that information is available at cfcamp.org. So
and what I've gathered, I haven't attended CF Camp, but from talking with everybody, CF Camp is a little bit more kind of, I would say, advanced and more specialized. Well, I wouldn't say specialized, but more advanced, in-depth trainings and workshops in the whole conference in general.
Especially over CF Summit, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not really addressing the masses. It's addressing
the next level, yeah, for sure.
The next level. That's the word I was going for.
Yep.
Level up.
Exactly. And Into the Box is the same way too. CF Summit has so many people that have never been to a conference before. They hit over 250 this year that were never been to a conference before. So Into the Box and CF Camp really dive into a little more. And so they're great conferences. I'm hoping I can make it work for next year as well. I'd like to make it out there.
Hey, why don't we just hop on a plane and go now? We could make it, right?
We could. Pretty
Or
jet
why don't
lagged,
we-
but
Hey, why don't we just hop in Ortus 1 and see how far we go?
I'm not sure it floats that well.
Hey, you know, it was worth a shot, right?
Yep. So anyway, CF Camp is pretty cool. Later on, we're going to talk about one of the tweets that were released by the Lucee server. Actually shows some of the videos from last year's sessions are available on cfcamp.org. So if you can't make it, but you want to see what was there last year, we have a link later on that you can check out for checking out some of those videos. So see what you missed, and yeah, let's start planning for next year. Make 2020 a even bigger CF Camp there. They've had to upgrade their venue over the last few years because they keep growing. So it's a pretty cool sign. And this is their 10th anniversary. So good luck. Everybody enjoy the conference. Travel safe. And yeah. Well,
Yeah, have a beer for me.
or two.
Or two.
Okay.
All right.
So let's talk about some blogs, tweets, and videos of the week.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
So Michaela Light is at it again. Michaela from TerraTech and Charlie are talking about the ColdFusion 2020 of this latest CFL podcast, and we have a link to that for you. Were you able to chime in on that one, Gavin? Did you get to watch any of it?
I watched a little bit. I mean, it's basically building on top of, you know, the keynote, and obviously Michaela had an interview with I think Rashif, no, not Rashif, Aguirre, a few weeks back as well on 2020, you know, things. So I know Charlie's, you know, talking about, I think more about some of the deployment stuff here, but there's a lot of cool stuff coming out in 2020, and we're getting bits and pieces. The keynote talked about some of it, and so they're just discussing that. So I have to watch the rest of it. I did start watching a little bit, but that was just a very recent release. So, but you know, Charlie's a great community member and keeps, you know, up to date on all this stuff. So I always want to hear what he has to say. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
CF Live podcast has a lot of good content. So, you know, a lot of interviews there.
Yep. And I tell you what I like. Charlie does a lot with Adobe ColdFusion. You know, you may hear us talking a lot about Lucee and all, but, you know, honestly, without Adobe, you know, hanging in there and doing what they have to do on the corporate side of things for the government contracts and things, you know, it'd probably make it a lot difficult for all of us to be in ColdFusion still. So still do appreciate everything Adobe does, as well as Lucee.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Wouldn't be here without you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so there's the next on our list is that tweet from CF Camp. And so I think that came out actually this morning, but if you go to cfcamp.org/videos.html, you'll be able to see those, you know, so it's a good number of links there. So we link to the tweet and as well to the videos themselves. So you can go check that out. So yeah, so I'll probably be watching a few because I'll be here wondering what are they doing over there. Missing out. FOMO. Brad and Eric and Jorge from Ortus are having a lot of fun over there, working hard.
Yeah, hopefully they're working hard. I saw Brad on Facebook earlier. I wonder how hard he's working.
Yeah, well, he did have a cool little vacation on the way. He stopped by London and Paris and got a lot of pictures of his, a lot of cheese because Brad loves his cheese. But his daughter's pretty photogenic. She likes to pose, and they're having a good time. So, but fun's over.
That's
He's
awesome.
at CF Camp working hard now.
No, fun's over for Brad. The family's still having a fun time.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. All right, next up, we have Ben Nadell talking about building a simple Redis key scanner. Wow.
Yeah, so he was talking about at work, he had this 7 gigs of memory being used by 14 million keys, and it was kind of hovering and not changing. He was like, that doesn't sound right. So he basically, you know, looked through built some little code to make his own little key scanner. And he said it only took him a few hours, and so it's kind of a nice little walkthrough of how he did it. So if you guys are, you know, looking at, you know, working with Redis, which is the Redis Java library to work with Redis, and we use that inside of the Redis extension for Lucee, and also I think there's another extension on for Lucee Redis, which I believe uses that same thing. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Look through it, and it's pretty cool that he made this little key scanner right there, and it wasn't too complicated. You know, like pretty cool little code, and that's some of the power. You know, tying into the JVM, you can really jump down and do that. So,
Right.
but
Yeah, absolutely.
we also had a blog post from one of the guys at the Mirror team, and the title is "There's no such thing as a Mirror developer." So
Yeah, I can probably attest to that.
yeah. I mean, basically, it talks about how people get, like to sort of box themselves into a technology or even a framework, because basically Mira is a framework product. It's a CMS, probably the most popular CMS in ColdFusion right now. ContentBox is Ortus is one, which, we have a lot of customers using, but Mira is probably the most popular, unless there's a lot of blog CFCs out there still.
They're probably still a lot of blog CFCs. But I can attest to this here, not without speaking into too much information, because it's hidden under NDA. But we have actually utilized just regular front end developers for making Mira themes. So once they're able to get a site together, with just a little bit of training, we were able to get a non-ColdFusion developer to create a Mira theme for us just from their basic front end. So I'm not sure if that's 100% what this blog is talking about, but I have a good inkling that's what it is talking about. It's just breaking up bits and pieces of the code in order to allow the application to generate what you want on the fly. So
yeah, I mean, it talks a little bit about some of the cool things they've done in Mira, and I do like a lot of their features, and but basically talking about how we're web developers. I'm not a ContentBox developer or a ColdBox developer. I'm a software developer. I have to work with databases and server languages and JavaScript, and have to worry about builds and style sheets and everything else. It's not just one thing, and so don't box yourself in. But yeah, it was kind of good. Like I say, it does overview some of the things in Mira, but it also does give you some sort of just general understanding of, as developers, we do a lot of cool things and a lot of complex things, but don't box yourself in. So yep.
All right. Also, what else? Let's see. We had a blog here, another blog by Pete Freitag, counting IP addresses in a log file. And basically what he says here is he's been using grep, searching through files on Linux and Mac for years. But one thing that didn't work recent was the -O flag, which tells grep to only output the matched patterns instead of the line match pattern. So Pete's got a blog on that allows you to do that there.
Yep. No, that's pretty cool. I've used grep a lot too. I'll tell you what, working with mail,
mail logs. Oh my gracious! Oh, I'm so glad that Gmail come around. My clients, man. Yeah, Gmail's something else. I just can't stand dealing with mail logs anymore.
For sure.
I'm getting old and grumpy, I guess. And just
mail logs are never fun. But yeah, so it's just a cool little thing, and there's a million little
ways of doing it.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just pretty neat.
Yeah, so what he's doing here is he's grepping to find a pattern of an IP address, and then what he's doing is he's also piping and telling it to sort. So it sorts it, basically grouping it, and then he's just piping in there the unique command, which will do a count. So it'll tell you how many times this IP address was in the log. So if you have somebody that is constantly, with a failure or anything, it just allows you to see how many failed attempts on the IP address. So that there definitely comes in handy, especially if you're like at CF Camp and you're going through the Linux little workshop there. This will probably be a little command or something that can help you out. So
yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So there's another blog post here by Michaela Light, and it was actually posted on the ColdFusion Adobe.com blog as well as the TierTech blog. And so it was pretty much a marketing piece, I think. It's the Adobe ColdFusion Comprehensive Guide, more powerful, more modernized, more alive. And so, if someone's asking you why you're using ColdFusion, this would be the perfect thing to send. So it gives you a little, history about what ColdFusion is, how it works, how it's modern now, and everything else. So, it's probably not for us developers. We know what ColdFusion is. We don't need to read it. But it's one of those blog posts that might be good to give to customers if they're, wondering why you're using it or whatnot. So,
or if people just want to start an argument about ColdFusion, just send them a link to this, and then you don't have to bother with your time. Just get on to writing code again, right? So thank you for these kind of articles. We ought to keep like a bookmark of call it ColdFusion ammo, right? For people who are just talking crap, just send them a link to all these and they can just...
That sounds like a new category for Charlie Earhart's 411, his info section.
Boom, Charlie.
Yep.
Info, we're going to call it ColdFusion ammo.
CFML is not dead ammo.
Yeah.
We can put all these little things. So, yep, sounds good.
And we can use some emojis too. I got a few we can use in there for them. So, excellent.
Yep. So next up, we got Matt Clemente, who was a speaker at CF Summit and Into the Box this year, and he's talks about... I guess he learned when you generate the XLSX files with CFML, there's an easy way to reduce the file size. If you don't change this little thing in the code, he said the spreadsheet size can be huge. So it can be a big difference. So,
and isn't that because XLSX is an XML-based version?
Yeah, so XLS usually is pretty simple. Like, you know, most people work with CSVs because they're tab or comma separated, you know, files, and you save them in Excel. But yeah, when they change to XLSX, it becomes an XML document, and so very different.
And we all know XML is loaded like a fat pig.
Yep. And so yeah, there's just a few little flags. And so he says it's basically him regurgitating some documentation, but kind of interesting if you're working with XLSX files and, you know, ColdFusion.
I love his humor.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I had a lot of fun catching up with him at CF Summit as well. So
I didn't get to speak with him. I saw him, but I was out and about, and
yeah. So that's one of the reasons I love the conferences. Get to catch up with all these people, and I can't wait to see him again at Into the Box next year. He spoke this year.
I met a fan. I met a fan of the show. I wonder if he's in here today. I can't see the chatters in here, but hey, man, if you're in here, thanks. I think I got a selfie with you, so that was cool. I felt like I was somebody, but
somebody important.
Different.
Yeah,
yeah.
For once,
it felt good for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of CF, need that on the little pat on the back. Yeah. So CF Summit 2019 presentation files are here. Is that correct?
Yep. So Kishore from Adobe released the blog post. It's got like 28 of the sessions with all the presentation files, so the slides and document the GitHub repos, etc. So if you didn't make the sessions, you can try and work off the slides. Some people have pretty meaningful slides. If not, then you know, just do what you can. Hopefully they'll be presented at the CF Online user group. But a lot of great documentation there. You've probably seen all the tweets all over Twitter, like hundreds of them, people posting all their slides, but they're all in one place now, so make it easy for you. So that's on the coldfusion.adobe.com blog there. So CF Summit 2019 presentation.
My fan here was Mark. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were about to wrap it up. Mark Balkans, I'm not gonna go there. Mark was he was the one that I met and liked the show, and it feels good, you know, because we're getting on here talking about stuff that we think is interesting, and it's nice to know that, you know, people appreciate it. So, but you're right, I didn't get a selfie with you because I had that's where I got a selfie with Eric in our Hacktoberfest shirts, and you were right there. So that's what I was thinking about selfies.
In all fairness, your phone was pretty much dead at that point, so.
Everything, yeah.
That's what happens when you're using your backup phone, right?
This is my third backup, exactly. Like I have here's all my phones. Like, well, there's two of them that I have, and they're all just dead.
Yeah,
it's time for a new one. So, all right, enough of that garbage. Me jacking here. We have another blog from Zach Spitzer on the Lucee image extension. And you're going to tell me about this one because it says we got support for CMYK images.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that, you know, over time, the CMYK images never seem to work with most of the Adobe, you know, image tag stuff. I'm not sure if the 2018 supports it in 2016, but I know in the old days, I used to have to create a separate little plugin. I used to use the CF image DLL in the old days, and then the image magic.
I love Image Magic to this day.
Yeah. So, but the Lucee image extension's been updated because it's modular, so the image is actually an extension, so it's pretty cool. And so this one supports CMYK images, and then the CF image write to browser ignores height and width bug was fixed, and there's a proportional change for image resize and a couple other things. So there's a blog post on the dev.lucee.org blog about that release there. So thanks, Zach, for sharing that. It's hard to keep up with all those Lucee changes because they keep them flying out. So
yeah, And I think this is really cool too, because the fact that it has CMYK support actually is good for anybody in the print business and all. And so if you're wanting to build an online application that you're going to send to a printer or anything like that, I mean, this is huge. I remember back in the day, and I say back in the day, we're talking about like 99 and 2000, back when Flash was kind of, anyway, we were rendering certificates. It was called for cherished mothers. It was basically like a, just honoring your mother and printing a certificate out. And it was really cool because it was web-based, right? And, back in the day, you had to have print shop. And it was a nightmare doing a lot of things and sending it to the printer to work. So not that the issue was CMYK, but it was still a print job from the web many, many moons ago.
Yeah,
so,
well, I remember people would upload pitches to my content management system I had in the old days, and it was CMYK. And if you try and do an image resize on that, you just get a black square. That's all it did. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. But anyway, an update's out there, so that's all good. Yep. And Ben Adele has another blog post here. This is kind of a cool one. It's a thought experiment about splitting up a single table into high writes and high reads for better performance in MySQL. So that's something you don't really think about when you're working as a developer. Your server's not getting hit hard because it's just local. And when things scale, though, you got to think about things differently. And so
everything's exponential.
Yeah. So, when you're writing to a table and reading from a table, you've got to be, concerned with locks. And if this table's getting hit hard, then that's going to interfere. So something as simple as a user access, timestamp, basically on a user table, every time they access something or whatever, you can flag that they accessed it. So that means every time someone's doing something, you're updating that user and that time. And so what Ben talked about is like if he pulls that user timestamp out of that table, okay, so you have a user table and then you have another table with a one-to-one relationship, you can write to that user, update table and just update that timestamp every time. It's in a separate table. So when you read from the user table, you're not getting any locking because it's updating that record in another table. Something as simple as that can make a huge difference to your performance. So he talks it through, and they had an architectural meeting about it, and so that's where they discussed it and everything. So it's pretty cool. So
so basically anything that has a lot of high write access on was moving it out so that it didn't affect the read because of the lock. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but I definitely see the logic and the flow behind that. So
yeah, I mean the other thing too was the other thing was too, like he's like, they did certain things over time to, improve the situation. And it keeps getting worse. Like they were only updating it after like every minute or so for the last update because you don't need to update it all the time. Then it was every 5, then every 10. Then they were caching stuff in the session so they wouldn't have to go get the user as often. Just things like that.
And that sounds to me more like it was probably just choking up on memory too. Just because it knew it was potentially going to lock it, and it may have been storing more in memory than it needed to as well. So by changing the approach, I wouldn't say manipulating, but working around the constraints. How about that?
Yep. And so it was just interesting, and when things scale, it's something to be considering. So anyway, it was just interesting. So I wanted to share that.
I like that whole mind shift. That's really cool. I like it.
Yep. And so
it's not like I need to get up with Ben. We need to have some late night chit chat. That would be fun.
Yeah. I like his little experiments he does. But, so yeah, we've been talking about CF Summit a lot lately. But one cool thing was that the specialist program, it was pretty interesting. You had the online videos, you had the in-person one-day pre-conference, and they had the test. And so Greg Desmond actually wrote 3 different blog posts and posted them on the Adobe ColdFusion blog, and basically giving his thoughts and opinions on how it went. And so he talked about the online segment, the in-person segment, and then the test. So he's got 3 blog posts there running through it all. So if you guys are interested in how it was or what how it went, these are pretty good articles. So, he talks about some of the tricky questions in the test, how it was an open book, and how the online videos had a lot of good content and everything. So, I mean, it sounds like a positive thing, but if you want to find out more details, then definitely go check those 3 blog posts out. So if you go to the coldfusion.adobe.com, I'm sure you'll see them all there.
Or the show notes. Bada boom, bada bing.
All the show notes. But we'll have all those there. So a lot of good stuff.
All right. We also have another blog from Matt Gifford, which the first time getting to meet Matt, was really cool. I met him at CF Summit. Him and I had actually worked on a few Ortus projects back a few years ago, and it was just him and I working on the project. So, we were communicating all the time, but we'd never actually met. And I think he was actually surprised at how big a dude I was, because you make me look very skinny on the podcast, and I appreciate that. So
I wish I could make myself look skinny.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, once you add me and adjust me in there, then I change it on my end to make it just kind of stretch.
Yep.
Nah, just kidding.
Sounds good.
But yeah, so Matt's talking about using Java to create CFML.wave files.
Well, actually, the audio player for wave files.
So man, I can't read.
Yeah.
You take it away, Gav.
Yeah, so it was just a little project, and so he was just messing around with the audio player stuff in the browser, and so he came up with this little thing called CF Wave Player on his lunch break. So Matt likes to play around too, so it's pretty cool. So if you want to look at that, maybe challenge yourself to try and make one, and then see what he did there. But it's a pretty cool little thing.
Yeah, and a little history about Matt. He's actually written a book on object-oriented ColdFusion.
Yep.
And so all of his approaches of things that you see, like if you look at this code here, he's sharing, is all modernized object-oriented approach. So it's definitely cool.
Yeah, for sure.
A consistent and modernized way of doing things.
And he shares a lot of stuff too. There's a lot of API wrappers. He's big on APIs and wrappers, so they're all over ForgeBox. He shares a lot of stuff there. So also, Charlie had that blog post on that CF Meetup prospective speakers FAQ, so that's in the show notes as well. So you can, find out more. I mean, it's pretty cool because there's a couple thousand members that are in that CF Meetup group online. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Everyone says there's nobody in ColdFusion anymore, but it's a lot of people.
Here we all are.
Yep, and there's a lot of cool ones there, a lot of recordings, so go check that out. But that's on the carehow.org blog.
Ooh, speaking of that, a lot of people in ColdFusion, I saw more, and this is great, I saw more female developers at CF Summit this year than I think I've ever seen. And so that, whether or not they've been there developing for long, or if they're new to the community, hey, we welcome you. And it was just good to see, I don't know the proper way of saying it.
It's a nice, diverse crowd.
That's what, yeah, it was good. It was good to see, more than just geeky guys like myself there, and Gavin.
Yep.
I didn't mean to call you guys geeky, but if I'm a geek, you're a geek too, right?
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. Cool. All right. What else do we have? It looks like we got some of these here. Might be a repetition.
Well, so Ben Adele, he had an embarrassing confession. So I won't tell you what the confession was, but we'll just say that he was playing with lists and operations with the Redis and Lucee. So he was basically working on, just playing with that, seeing how the lists work, because they're not quite what he expected. So I'll let you read more about that, but it was pretty interesting. So, he's been playing with Redis a lot lately with their previous blog posts too. So if you want to go check that out.
Blocking read operation in Lucee 5294. I do need to check that out. I need to see what this is all about, because that might be some of the issues that we're having with the Redis extension. And anyway, on to
the next one. So if you guys haven't heard enough about CF Summit, Nolan made a nice little recap for you. So he talks about the pre-conference and the conference and everything included. So, he compares the Hard Rock, which we had last year, versus the Mirage and everything. And, clearly answers that ColdFusion's not dead. So if you want to give a recap, if you want somebody else's opinion in case we're biased over here, Nolan's got a nice review there on the selfishasta.com blog.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've seen Nolan taking notes. So a lot of his recaps are actually done kind of live per se. So he's working on it as he goes. I know I watched. I didn't really watch over him. I just saw him Into the Box last year, or it might have been the year before. And as things were coming up, he was taking notes. So everything he writes in there is very thorough, because it's pretty much as it's happening. It's how he's note taking it, and not retrospect of the summit.
Yeah, this recap was just the summary, but he has about 12 or 15 different blog posts for all the different sessions he attended.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out. They're all on selfishesta.com. We were joking last week that he might knock off Matt Gifford and Ben Adel for the most blogs in a month. Because Pete Freitag was saying, if whoever wins is going to get their own section, and like it might be Nolan.
Might be.
He's at CF Camp right now too, so he's going to be writing up a whole bunch more. So
however many sessions plus one.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, good deal. We're looking forward to it, Nolan. We give you a hard time, but we do appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And so Pete had another little recursively counting by extension on Mac or Linux. So another little Unix takeaway, which is pretty neat. So just like the other hint and tip was just a simple thing with grep, this one here just, says, hey, I only want to count the number of files that are JavaScript or something in a directory. So this just lets you recursively go find those file types. So pretty good.
It is.
Nice little tips, Sometimes we should just share those little things.
Is there anything in ColdFusion similar to grep, aside from just doing a CF execute on the grep? I was just curious. I don't think there is.
What you mean, like a find
like you can
or
run
a match or on a file?
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's obviously string functions.
Hard level.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the read functions. There might be something in there, but yeah, I mean, you can always drop down to Java. There's all sorts of crazy stuff you can do in there, string buffers and that type of stuff too. But I'm sure there are. Guess look on CFDocs and find out.
I will look it out. Good deal. All right, we also have a tweet from Terry Beard.
Or Snack Boy, if you look at his Twitter handle.
Snack Boy.
I thought that was
I want to call you Snack Boy instead. I like that better.
But yeah, it's kind of cool. Just talking about old school and new school CFML. And basically
moving to CF script.
Yeah, and he's in like the last bit. I wish I would have dived in CF script a lot earlier.
You beat me to it. I was ready to chime that in. I was the same way. Now every time I pick up something with just tag based in it, I just have to do a CF script tag and dump my stuff in there, because it hurts me now to write tag. I don't know why, but it just hurts my brain to write tag based code.
Don't get me wrong.
It for my views.
Yeah,
my views, I do it all day long. But when I get into logic, it's just I feel handicapped now. That could just be because that's just me. But I agree.
Yep.
I wish I'd have done it sooner.
And I think a lot of people like that. They're kind of scared of their tags and everything. But, some of the syntax is a little weird, but Adobe 2020 is going to be, ECMAScript compatible and everything. So we'll see how that changes things. But, I mean, much better for sure. So, yep. Adobe CF Summit 2019. There's another recap here by Matt Clemente, so we'll let you read that. He had a couple sessions, so that's good. Also, Brad Wood, he's always busy on Twitter fighting for ColdFusion's rights, and he updated his blog post about vulnerabilities, because there's a Java ColdFusion, Ruby on Rails, and .NET, and everyone always says ColdFusion's like insecure and got security problems. So he's actually got several blog posts he's done like 5 years ago. He updated it a couple more times, etc. And then the most recent one is an update. So it's kind of interesting. He has graphs and everything, but it really shows that ColdFusion isn't as bad as everybody thinks. And to be honest, Adobe steps on that stuff so quickly because they have to. Like having a corporate company with a legal, requirement. I think they jump on that stuff faster than all of these open source places because they have bigger ramifications.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So he has that on his codesrevolution.com blog, but it's 3 different links we have there in the show notes.
Yeah. Yep. And also Matt Gifford's got another blog post about IP API, basically doing geolocation for IP addresses and things like that.
Well, that's cool. I wonder if
he's a big rapper guy. We're gonna call him Matt the Rapper.
Yep. But I'm curious because IPs, and we're always dealing with that type of stuff. So I'm kind of curious what that actual API looks like. But very cool. So
yeah, and it returns a JSON response. So hey, that's all you need to know. That's good stuff.
Yep.
I don't know how accurate it is. That's all going to be dependent on the service that's utilized, I would assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely worth checking that out. And Matt's also, oh, great. So Adventures with CB Streams. Can't talk too much about where, but one of our first projects that Matt and I worked on was also implementing CB Streams, and it was quite interesting. So it looks like he's got a blog post about all the hiccups, because I know.
Well, actually, this is the third. He actually has a little series called Adventures with CB Streams. He had 2 that we talked about last week. This is the third one. So see, you're learning about something on the show too.
I am, because I've been out of pocket, man.
Yeah. So he's he's also done like 15 blog posts in 15 days, I swear. So he's got a lot out there. But yeah, this one just talks about reducing and mixing with CB Streams. And for those you don't know, CB Streams allows you to basically, iterate over streams of data, and it allows even for infinite streams, which is pretty neat. It drops down into the Java libraries, and the CB Streams module allows you to do it in ColdFusion. So it's pretty slick.
It's kind of for anybody that doesn't quite understand, kind of think about looping over 500 actions with a CF transaction, and then waiting for every one of those to get results back, and then populating something. So it allows you to do that, multi stream of data running at the same time. That's basically what CB Streams is about. And once you get the concept of it, it was a little difficult at first to kind of grasp the concept, but once we grasp the concept of it, CB Streams is really stinking powerful and helpful for basically utilizing the full capacity of the server. Why wait for something to get a response when you could just fire off 20, 30, 40 requests and wait for them all to come back at one time. So
yeah, Luis Majano, loves making these modules for ColdFusion based on the Java stuff, and hopefully one day the engines support it too. But this CB Streams module, I think he even presented it into the box this year on it, so there may be a video available there for that too. But CB Streams, yeah, great. Definitely should check it out in that series by Matt's. I'm actually reading it too, because I like seeing the practical guide too, so I like seeing those examples.
And practical guide is way more beneficial than the very first documentation that was produced. It was like, what does this mean?
Yeah, very theoretical stuff. I like to be able to play with it. That's how I learn.
Agree.
So, but speaking of playing with things,
Alas, poor York.
Yep, he's been busy again. He's got a lot of blog posts there on that ColdFusion blog, but he's got an alternative Superior query. He says it's been a useful tool, but with modern CFML, you need to use it anymore. So he shows you why you shouldn't use it, but also how you should get away from using it. So I think that is a good little blog post, because ColdFusion is really good at doing queries because it uses the database to do the query. But when you start doing queries on the query, that's not what ColdFusion was built for.
ColdFusion is not a database
engine.
Period.
Yeah, it connects to database engines, and they do that job well. But when you're querying a query, you're using ColdFusion's query engine, and it's not good. And there's lots of problems with it. It's really slow, so don't. So
right, and basically where he takes this to is it's taking the query, and essentially it'll run it to an array of structs for your data. Then you're using the member functions and whatnot to do your sorting or reducing, essentially. Command reduce.
And that's way more efficient.
Yeah, because then you're just dealing with basic structured, arrays and structs instead of a whole different object, which has so much other garb on it to make the engine work just faster. So check that out.
Yep.
And all right, on to a section here of the show called CFML Jobs, and most of these are posted at getcfmljobs.com.
Yep, it's got a cool little Twitter client that pops them up there too. So we got a few that were released new, but if you want them all, go to getcfmljobs.com. You can see a full list. But looks like they had a ColdFusion developer for Good to Go Auto Insurance in Philadelphia.
Right, just looking at 4 years experience.
Cool.
And but it's in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. You sure it's not Blue Ball, Pennsylvania?
I'm not sure.
Because there is one Blue Ball, Pennsylvania.
I don't know.
What do we have here?
There's also one in Australia too. So just in Melbourne, Victoria. They're looking for a ColdFusion developer, so they're wanting somebody with software analysis, development, design skills in ColdFusion. And there's also one in Reno, Nevada. And so it looks like Clear Capital in Reno, looking for a talented and highly motivated individual to join their team. There's job descriptions are all available there through getcfmljobs.com if you want to find out more. Cool.
Yeah, and Michael was correcting us here. The query doesn't actually use the CF engine, like CF as a query engine. He says he thinks it's using a memory-based engine like H2 or something similar.
Really?
Either way, it still sucks. That was my comment back. It still sucks.
Okay.
So,
well, I guess if it does, then it has to generate a table, import the data, and then run the query, and then pull it back out. So there's obviously time involved in doing all that.
Right.
So, but that's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about under the hood, but I mean, yeah, it's
to me it was just internal. So yeah, it's good to know. Thank you for that, Michael.
That's interesting for sure. Cool. Well, let's get to the ForgeBox module of the week. And speaking of Michael Bourne, we decided to pick his CFStocky module. So
yeah, so this module here is basically just an API wrapper for stock quotes and all. But the biggest reason for us showcasing this was he did a Twitch video of him doing live code of building this API, and there's a lot of good practices here. You can even see some issues where he may have stumbled around and kind of the thought process and how he was able to fix or remedy a problem that he'd come up against. So that's the reason why we're showcasing this today. And you could apply this same concept for your own module. If you've got another API wrapper that you want to look at, I mean, you basically all API wrappers are equivalently the same, unless the same concept at least. And this would be a good one to start from for doing your own. So.
Yeah. So if you watch the videos, see how he goes and builds it and everything. I think it's pretty neat. So we've got sharing his link to the Twitch videos there. I think there's actually a couple of videos he did because he set himself a goal to try and finish the entire API wrapper in a certain time period. And I don't think he quite finished it, but he got a long way. And then he came back and did some more. But that's available on ForgeBox. So it's called CFStocky. And if you do anything with stock markets, it sounds like it's a pretty cool little API actually. Some good information.
Yeah, not saying it's useless. It's just I don't deal with. Didn't mean that, Michael. I just don't deal with stocks much, right? So for me, but there's more benefit for anybody who doesn't utilize the stock market or need that. They can benefit from this more ways than just the stock market, right?
Yep.
So
that's pretty cool, though. It looks like he's using Hyper too, which is one of the modules we've mentioned previously on the ForgeBox module of the week. So good job. And pretty cool. And he's trying to do more of these live coding sessions on Twitch. So, follow him on Twitter and, keep an ear out for when they're happening. I think he does them usually Wednesday about 4:00 Pacific time, I believe. But I'm not sure exactly. So anyways.
4:00 Pacific. He's Eastern time though. So
so I think it's like 6 or 7 at night.
Yeah, it's when he gets off of work or so and had dinner and is ready to rock and roll again. So good deal.
Yep,
so for your Eastern time zone guys, 7:00 ish on Wednesdays. And Hyper is awesome. Thank you, Michael. Yes, Hyper is awesome. And we thank Eric Peterson for writing Hyper. For those of you who don't know, Hyper is a ColdBox module that is basically an object-oriented way of doing CFHTTP without all the repetitive, redundant garbage you have to do just to do a CF or any HTTP request. If you've ever done a curl, there's a lot of bloat, right? And also there's a module too that I've been working on that actually converts curl to Hyper. So if you have a curl string, which we all get from APIs, bam, we can copy and paste that into a little tool that I was working on, and it'll convert that to Hyper for you. So really cool.
Have you posted that yet?
Yeah, I got a little bug I need to work out. I may need to get some help. So if anybody's interested and is good with JavaScript and wants to work on Hyper and work on this little conversion with me, hey, hit me up.
That'd be a cool little module to get out on ForgeBox so people could use that because, curl to Hyper, definitely a big plus. So,
yeah.
So very cool. Okay, well, let's look at the VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. So this is something that Vilde Buren actually submitted a while back. We asked people for what VS Code extensions they're using, and this is one I just installed just recently, and it's pretty cool. It's the Shell Launcher. And so this one has about 46,000 installs. It's got 5 stars. And what it allows you to do is easily launch multiple shell configurations in your terminal. So it recommends you use a shortcut Control-Shift-T, so you can set that up in your shortcuts or whatever you want to set up, but it allows you to basically quick launch any of the shells you have. So by default on Windows and Linux and Mac OS, you have all these pre-set up ones when you install it, but it allows you to configure them too. So when I'm on Windows, I get my git bash, I get my, the Windows Linux subsystem, I get my command and PowerShell and everything like normally happens in there. But I can also set up
there's more.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. Billy Mays here.
Yep. So I can also add like CommandBox in there. So I can add that. But the cool thing is you can also set it up with command arguments. So instead of just running CommandBox and open up the window, I can actually set one up for my launcher. So I can go Control-Shift-T and then push like down arrow and enter to pick my second one. And that could be my CF formatter. Or I could have another one for running npm commands that I run all the time. So I could just have a shortcut to start up, PowerShell in my terminal inside of VS Code and instantly run my npm run watch.
So what you're telling me, Gavin, is that you can pass the arguments basically of the exact file. So like in the CF formatter, it'll actually allow you to, can you pass the argument of the open document for it to run on so that it'll format just that particular document, or have you played with that part yet?
Well, you have to set the arguments inside your workspace settings, or your user settings. So
are there dynamic variables, do you know?
Not on that one, I don't think. But okay. I mean, you could,
we could do a pull request.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, you can basically set up a launcher to launch whatever. So obviously I like just having the ability to make CommandBox the top of my list. So I can just do Control-Shift-T, enter, and I'm already open a box, or if I wanted to do PowerShell. But yeah, I mean, all those commands I run all the time, like npm run watch or box start or whatever, like all these things that I do all the time, I can basically make them into a shortcut now, and I can just pop open a new terminal, whichever terminal I want, set up the way I want, and I can run it. So if I want to run my test box watch, so if I want to start running my test in terminal, now I can just go Control-Shift-T, choose my test box runner, click it, and now it's running my test box watch.
Man, I've got one for you. Docker exec-it/bin bash. Like, that's going to be a good one there, because how many times have you wanted to just log directly into your Docker? And I know there are Docker commands or Docker plugins for VS Code that allow you to do that. But man, if you've got something that's more flexible, and we're all little hackers here anyway, you can just hack it and make this thing work, and you don't have to have an extra extension for Docker. This could be kind of like your list of shortcuts commands. Yep. So cool stuff, man.
For sure.
Well, that's wrapping up. We got the fun part here, right?
Yep. Patreon supporters. We're running a little bit late today, so we're not going to go and read everybody, but everyone is, we greatly support. Thank all our supporters for your support. The podcast, ForgeBox, all our open source tools and documentation is all supported by these wonderful Patreon supporters. If you guys want to become a Patreon supporter like yourself, Andrew, there's lots of packages available, small to large, depending on if you're individual or company. So on the ortus.com/about-us/sponsors, you can find out more about it and how to become a sponsor. And we appreciate all your help. A little donation goes a long way, and we appreciate it. So thank you, everybody. And obviously, those of you at CF Camp, have a great week. Those of you who are not, sorry, but let's watch some videos and pretend we're there.
Man, you know what? We should have coordinated with CF Camp to do a moment of silence and just pause and everybody listen to the podcast. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to try.
They got better things to do, though, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to try and get Brad to be a special third host today from over there, but he's probably drinking orange juice and having lots of fun with the guys. So
yeah,
and girls.
A&W. So good deal. Well, everybody over at CF Camp, y'all have fun, and everybody in India, I hope you're enjoying or going to be enjoying the sessions there. And I guess stay tuned for next week.
Yep. Have a great week, everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io. where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.